Men must sacrifice someone for a long term relationship. And for those of you wondering why I use this term sacrifice, let me be clear from the beginning. If you do not sacrifice this one thing, your relationships will continue to be filled with chaos and anger and sadness. And I'm not talking about sacrificing your ex girlfriend or your family or your life or yourself. This has nothing to do with dramatic external actions. What you do need to sacrifice is something much, much deeper. And I'll reveal exactly what that is on the halfway through this video, so please stay with me until the end because if you miss it, you will keep repeating the same relationship patterns. So, the first thing that you have to know is that long term relationships are built on the emotional level of calmness and peace. And the other side of this is short term relationships. Short term relationships are built on the emotional level of chaos and anger. So I'll repeat long term relationships are built on calmness and peace. Short term relationships are built on chaos and anger. Second, there's an old version of you that was created a long time ago, and this version of you operates on the emotional level of chaos and anger. Third, there are three levels in our existence, in our reality, which is mental level, physical level, and spiritual level. And your old version of yourself exists on the spiritual level as an emotional self. This old version of you was born out of strong emotional experiences such as chaos, anger, pain, and frustration. And it functions like an entity. This is a spiritual entity. And this goal of this entity is to exist and to survive. And to able to survive, it needs energy. And this energy is an emotion. And the energy it feeds on is the same emotion that it was born from. So if the spiritual entity was born out of chaos, then it will try to trigger a chaos within your life. So, how is this spiritual entity born? The spiritual entity is created by your thoughts combined with strong emotional experiences. And this is how your old emotional version of yourself is formed. This old version of you is the main reason why, in the past relationships, you kept manifesting chaos, conflict, and emotional instability. It constantly tries to trigger you to become for you to become angry or reactive or chaotic because that is how it survives and that's how it tries to extract the emotions out of you. And if you look closely at your relationship that you've had, you will notice that the base emotional tone operating underneath it, it might be sadness, it might be anger, it might be apathy, chaos, disappointment, frustration, all these lower vibrational emotions. That emotional base tone is the old version of you running the relationship. And this old emotional version of you is what must be sacrificed in order to become a new emotional version of yourself, one that operates on the calmness and peace. So you must sacrifice the old version of you to become new version of yourself. The goal is simple. To become a new emotional version of yourself that already lives in calmness and peace. This is the goal that you must achieve to achieve the new emotional version of yourself, because this is where the long term relationships are formed. And by the way, if you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or high performing man who's struggling to find a long term wife material or long term relationships, uh, apply to work with me one on one. Link in the description. Now, here's the real question: how do I stop getting emotionally triggered and remain calm? The first thing that you have to understand is to know what is the source of my anger? What is the source of my frustration? What is the source of my negative emotions? The core of emotional chaos and the core reason why you get angry or triggered is coming from this one word, is the importance. Importance means is when you assign excessive value to something. And I'll tell you in simple terms. If you think that something is super important to you, that's when you have importance. Whenever you fail to achieve something that you placed high importance on, you become emotionally triggered. Once you understand this, you'll notice that every emotional trigger is tied to something that was unconsciously important to you. I'll give you an example. If I place immense amount of importance on owning a Lamborghini, but I don't have it, I become very frustrated and angry. Another example. If I place importance on sex and I don't get it, uh, I become angry and frustrated. So, in every case, there is a something that was very, very important to you, even if you were not aware of it. Every emotional trigger is the result of your unconscious importance. To calm your emotional state, you have to say this one sentence with a strong, grounded declaration. Drop the importance. You have to say this sentence. Drop the importance. This sentence must not be taken lightly, and you have to say with calm, masculine voice. Drop the importance. And say this sentence every time you emotionally become unstable. Find a thing that you perceive as important and say this sentence out loud. Whenever you get emotionally triggered, you have to find something that is important to you and you have to say this sentence, drop the importance. And once you drop the importance, you stop becoming emotionally triggered. And when you stop becoming emotionally triggered, you stop feeding the old version of yourself. And another powerful sentence that you can use is this sentence. How would the new version of me emotionally react to this situation? And this question instantly shifts you from the old version of yourself into the new version of yourself right here in the present moment, and it allows you to respond from calmness and self-regulation instead of chaos and reaction. So here's the conclusion. There are two core practices that you have to do. First, the declaration of drop the importance. Second is the question, how would the new version of myself emotionally react right now? And these two practices will allow you to sacrifice the old emotional version of yourself and become the new emotional version of you, one that operates from peace and calmness. And that is the emotional foundation of a long term relationship. Thank you.